Hey everyone, let's talk a little bit about being, the concept of being. I'm sure most of you have heard about this concept in the New Age circles, throughout life in general, throughout ancient texts, throughout in Eastern thought, and even in Western thought, in Western traditions. You've heard about the concept, the ideology of being. What does being mean? What does it mean to be? What an important concept to get into. It's so important to get into and to understand, really understand. I think this concept of being has been chopped up, inverted, um, just completely watered down, and fed to us in a way to where it's very hard to understand. It's very misleading. A lot of gurus, compromised gurus, have taught and talked about being as if it's this end all be all state of existence where everything's okay and there's no more problems. And, you know, it's basically this place where it's all happiness and joy and fulfillment and, pleasure and whatever else, and acceptance. And to be quite frank, that's not the case. Being is not necessarily all happiness and joy and love and butterflies and rainbows and green grass and green pastures and such. Being is being, which means being where you're at right now, no matter how you feel, no matter what feelings are there, no matter what sensations are there, no matter what's going on in your experience. Being is living in the present moment completely and fully. I'm not talking about somewhere psychologically where you're attached to a concept of present moment awareness. No. Being implies being fully present and online and activated through the moment that you're in right now, beyond thought. You are in the moment, embedded in the moment. You understand that the past and future are just these thought forms that try to take us away from the moment. We can go into the past and learn and grow through the moment, and we can look ahead into the future, realizing that it's illusory nature, but using that energy to make each moment count. But if we're stuck psychologically in the past or the future, if we're trapped in a place of worrying about the future or, resenting or in this painfully awful place of the past, regret and such, fear, shame, then we're not living in the present moment. We're not being. Being is being where you're at. It's being with not only the happiness and the joy and the, moments of connection and fulfillment that you feel, but it's also being with the misery, the tears, the sadness, the grief. It's being with all emotions in the moment, allowing yourself to feel whatever you need to feel wherever you're at. It's not negating or trying to escape into some concept of being. It's not trying to escape or negate the fact, what is happening right now in my direct experience. And not even asking that question, just being with whatever is taking place right now in the experience that I'm intricately interwoven within, I'm a part of. I am the experience itself. I am not experiencing anything. There is no I to experience anything. What is the I? These are the things that we have to get into to understand being. I'm not going to give you all the answers to this. I'm not going to be giving you all the answers. I don't have any answers to give. I'm just speaking about where I'm at personally and what I've come to understand along my own journey. I'm expressing the tools and how I use them and hoping to shine a light on the tools that are on your belt already. You just don't know they're there. Or you do know they're there, you just don't know how to use them properly. And this idea of being, it brings me back to Krishnamurti. It brings me to Krishnamurti's teachings, which are they can be very, very hard to understand for a lot of people. Very hard to understand for me. Years and years and years went by, and I was reading these texts and listening to his talks, and they're so hard to interpret, so hard to take in because I was so stuck in that left brain modality. I was so trapped in that that framework where I couldn't see, I couldn't feel or sense what this individual was channeling, was bringing forth. I mean, I can sense it deep down beyond the conditioning and beyond all the concepts that I held about reality. But I couldn't grasp it. And throughout the years, I keep revisiting this material. And I come to a deeper and deeper and deeper understanding of what this individual, this brilliant light, Krishnamurti, was expressing in his work, expressing in his being, right? And basically what he's saying, what is Krishnamurti talking about? He's talking about being. He's talking about going beyond the concepts, going beyond the ideas, going beyond this idea that you have about reality, this idea of separateness, this belief in separateness, all belief. Going past and transcending all limitation, understanding there's no such thing. There's no such thing. There's only the illusion of it. There's only the illusion of limitation here. And how much you believe in that limitation is how much you will be limited. And in being, this is a hard thing to unpack here. In being, it's a hard thing to unpack because it's so deeply beyond words, and it's so deeply beyond anything that I can say. And all I can do is point to the best of my ability with the tools that I have right now, which I don't have all the great tools to even relay this message. I'm still coming to an understanding of how to even talk about these types of concepts because they're so transcendent and so deep. So trying to bring these deep concepts to the surface, it's extremely challenging. So the biggest takeaway from this video, I'd say, is being. To define being, which you can't define, it's undefinable. It's undefinable. Any of these states of being are undefinable. But the biggest takeaway is being present. And now, how do you do that? Everyone wants an answer. How do you do that? How do you do that? How do you do this? I can't tell you how to do it. It's something that has to naturally come to you. It has to come to you through a passionate contemplation, through a passionate state. You have to want it. You have to have a deep, deep feeling of, transformation. The desire, the deep desire. I'm not talking about this superficial, pleasure-seeking desire. I'm talking about a deep, burning desire to understand who one is, which is being. You are being beyond all the things that you convolute and, perceive reality, all the ways you perceive reality, all the beliefs that you have, the limiting beliefs that you have, that we have. Being is the framework that connects us all. It's not only the framework that connects us all, because there's no all to connect. All is already connected. So you got to just come back to that. That's being. Coming back to that is being. This isn't some far out thing. This isn't some new age mumbo jumbo. This is real, really, really, really important stuff to understand here. This kind of brings me to like this point of the new age movement where people either are like completely hypnotized by the movement and they're stuck in it and they're in that cycle, or they see it for what it is. Maybe they were in it for a little bit, like myself. I was in it for a few months and then I got out of it and I saw it for what it is, this mind trap. But that's not to say there's not gems in this movement. There's not gems in the new age framework. In new age ideologies, there are nuggets of truth, gold nuggets awaiting your discovery. But if you say new age movement is completely corrupt, it's terrible, and I agree to an extent it is. It's not good for the mind. It's not good because it's another form of mind control. It's another religion to tie one back from understanding who they are, from being. It's to tie one back from being under the guise of being. That's why it's so sinister. That's why it's so sinister. Saying you have all the answers, they lie within you. But look to me for answers. You see how contradictory this is? You're kissing the guru's feet that says you have the answers. Don't kiss my feet, but kiss my feet. But we can't cast away the whole New Age idea. You can't cast away the nuggets. You can't throw the whole entire New Age movement out. You can't throw it all out because it has so much truth in it. Because they have taken so many ancient ideas from all walks of life and integrated them into this one compact movement. It's another way the system has inverted these traditions, like yoga. Yoga has been so inverted and stomped on here in the West. I mean, it's one of the most popular things in America. And it was once this beautiful ancient practice that wasn't just stretching and working out and moving your body. It was a way of life. Being a yogi is a way of life. It's a process of truth discovery. It's a shedding process. It's an alchemical process that takes place. And it's so much more than just stretching on a freaking mat, on a rubber mat. It's so much more than that. The highest form of yoga, I can't really pronounce it. I still don't know how to pronounce it, but Raja yoga. The livingness of being, the livingness, the observation, the awareness of what you are coming into being. But again, it's not even a coming into being. It's just a process of seeing. Right? Like I look like I'm doing something right now because I'm using force to, express a certain message. But this is my version of being. This is the version of being that is being expressed in this moment right now on this camera. Now, do you get what I'm saying here? Can you grasp that? Because if you're trying to grasp it with the left brain, you're trying to grasp it with reason. You're trying to grasp it with these faculties that we use that tend to blind us if we can't see past them. You can use reason to see these concepts, but we also have to see beyond the concepts, which is something that I don't want to use the word preach, but something I really, really get into so much because we have to do it. We have to do it. If we are going to see any transformation take place on the planet, we got to go beyond the concepts that we hold about reality, about the tree, about the squirrel, about the sky, about yourself, about the rock, about the table, about everything. We chop everything up and put it into boxes. We try to hold on to everything, and we can't. We try to hold everything and understand everything with only this coming from this like left brain place, coming from this rigid, place, this scientific place. Even if we claim to be spiritual, even if we claim to be in that intuitive flow, we still probably come from this place where we're chopping everything up into concepts, into ideas, into words. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Intellectually, analytically, it doesn't make sense. And that's just the ego trying to grasp onto something that it can't grasp. The ego, the left brain, the conscious mind, it cannot hold truth. It cannot hold or see the value in stillness, in being, in all these ideas that have been passed down to us for millennia. So the quintessence of being, the essence of being, is that being present in the moment, living through the moment with whatever is. The sorrows, the griefs, the sadness, the tears, as well as the happiness, the joy, the ecstatic moments of bliss that you may feel. In every moment, being is that. But the ego, what the conscious mind wants? It wants pleasure. It wants it looks forward to some future event where everything is going to be great. It expects being to be something that it wants it to be. So when being is actually taking place, if you're just looking through the lens of the ego, if you're being blinded by that whole modality, then you can't see the value in it because the value isn't to be seen by the ego, but through the ego, through the conscious mind, do we use to be Being isn't going to bring instant gratification, which most people need, especially in this society today, with all the technology and the distractions and the constant quick fixes, fix, 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 fix. Everyone's an addict in some way, shape, or form. Being isn't going to bring instant gratification. Being isn't going to bring this pleasure, response that we're so addicted to, that we're so held up on, chasing, unconsciously chasing. So when being is happening, or when being is, most likely you don't see it. Most likely we don't see it because it's somewhere beyond thought. It's somewhere beyond the mind itself. You're tapping into the universal mind, infinite consciousness. You're tapping into this infinite place that the ego, the conscious mind, can't hold. It can't grasp. It can't put its finger on. And all the ego is good at doing is grasping. It's good as a servant. It's good as using, like I have to use the ego to talk, to express this information. It's the vessel in which I allow consciousness to flow through. But as soon as it becomes the master, as soon as it starts to run the show, I've lost it. I sever my connection. But really, I don't sever my connection. I just blind myself for a little bit from the inherent connection that I am. So being is simply being with whatever is. And that's why it's so hard. That's why it's so hard for people to live in that state. Because we're constantly trying to figure things out. We're constantly trying to break things up into pieces and to put them back together again and do this and do that and have all the answers and do. You know what? That might be useful sometimes, but it's ultimately more limiting than not. Overanalyzing things, trying to figure out why the bird is pecking at the ground right here, trying to figure out why, the leaves grow on trees, trying to figure out every single detail about reality. When if you can just be in that awareness and watch and see without feeding that aspect of yourself, that conscious mind, that unruly thing that says, what's that? What's this? What's that? If you can just be past that, then the truth would flow fluently through you. And now you would have something real. Now you're tapping into something truly fulfilling and truly all-encompassing and infinite. And being doesn't imply non-action. Like I said in one of my last videos, inaction, the concept of non-action, that ties directly into being. Like I said, you look like I'm taking action right now. You see, I'm taking action. I'm making a video. I'm moving my hands. I'm taking action. But this is being. Like, this is the I am expressing itself. So therefore, the little I is not taking action. But the true I is taking action. But the true I, it's not an action that we, our human biases, we're trying to attach ourselves to this idea of action that we don't really understand how infinite consciousness takes action, because it's not in the same realm. It is, but we can't attach our human biases, our human language to the all expansive, all that is. And again, the ego has a very, very, very big problem with this because it can't see anything past itself. That's why it's so important to have balance within our psychological structures. Psychologically, we have to have balance. Spiritually, we have to have balance. We are balanced spiritually, but we have to have balance psychologically to be able to channel or to sense or to live in alignment with, or just live that balance that we are inherently. So being is being here now. It is living in the moment with whatever arises, with whatever comes up. It's not just happiness and joy and fluffy rainbows and butterflies and unicorns. It's its opposite as well. It's anything that is right now in this moment, just being with that. And then the truth, the action, all that needs to take place through the vessel that you are in, all that needs to take place through that moment will take place if one allows themselves to be and not allow their egos to get in the way, their conditioning, their belief systems to get in the way. Being is being.